You are listening to Comedy Club for Kids presents Radio Nonsense, Radio Nonsense, Radio Nonsense, Radio Nonsense, Radio Nonsense. Red Panda Explosion. Thank you, Harry, aged 9, for that intro. I don't know if it's red pandas that are exploding themselves, like if they've eaten too many gassy foods or fizzy drinks and they just go pop, or their bums do. I don't know. Or is it, and this is what I reckon, that red pandas are actually experts in dynamite and TNT and they're going around exploding things? I mean, red pandas always look like they're wearing an old-fashioned bandit mask, don't they? There's every chance that they've worked together to rob a bank by exploding things. Not a human bank, obviously, not like a bank with money in it, but like a river bank, maybe, or a forest one. You don't really... Do you get forest banks? Or mountain banks? Or desert banks? You do get river ones, don't you? Why is it that fish, otters and beavers need banks? Is it because they have an income flow? I've got no idea. But maybe in forests they have money spiders and they do all the banking stuff for the red pandas, so they don't need actual banks. So actually, I don't really know what they'd blow up. So much to think about. Hello, if you hadn't already realised where you were and what this was, then what are you doing here? But also, welcome to Radio Nonsense, the Comedy Club for Kids podcast that is suitable for all ages from 2. You have all been sending in so many things, thank you lots for that, and thanks to your bleating fartoafs, sorry, grown-ups, for helping you if they did. If they didn't, well, may they be cursed by a plague of giant llama pukes! Sorry, that was a bit much, wasn't it? Sorry, it's a little bit rude. Maybe just small llama pukes, a plague of small llama pukes. So, some specific shout-outs, or normal levels of talking outs that become very unpleasant to listen to this if I shout it all out. To all of you who've given the podcast a review, and in particular, Minecraft5439, who sent, "This is a really funny podcast, I love it, thank you," and then wrote, "Poop," and put an emoji of a gorilla doing a fart. Now, the reason I'm mentioning this review in particular, because thank you for all the reviews that you put on Apple Podcasts and other sites like that, but Minecraft5439, I think you've discovered the best review system ever. Like, normally, shows get reviewed with stars. You might have seen in the West End, oh, it's got 5 stars, or like on Broadway, this is a 5-star show, or like music gets 5 stars. But I think, right, you know, farting gorillas is much better, isn't it? Because if you see 5 stars, oh, that's great, or oh, only 1 star, it's obviously poo. But if you get to say, this show has 1 farting gorilla, so that is a true honour. If it had only achieved a burping capuchin or a hiccuping bush baby, then I'd have felt like maybe you didn't really like it. But a farting gorilla, I know you loved it, because it's like, that's quite a big fart. Gorillas are pretty big, and you'd assume they do, especially always the way that they walk around. They're kind of like knuckles on the floor, bums in the air. They're going to do quite a big fart. So I feel like that's a really beautiful review that you've given us. Thank you so much, and I hope the farting gorilla system really catches on. Also, thank you to Cassie or Kaki or Kaskaki who's in Australia, who also gave the show a review with 21 burger emojis, which is a great review system as well, because I think that means they really like the show or that they are really hungry. I'm not sure. Thanks, Kakakasi, and I hope you get some dinner soon. If you too would like to give us a farting gorilla of appreciation or hamburger emojis or whatever, really, then please do that on whatever podcast app you or your bleating fartoafs, sorry, grown-ups, get this show from. Also, you can ask them to help you email us any questions or whatever else you'd like, really, at podcast@comedyclubforkids.co.uk. And so many of you have been. It's been amazing getting all your emails. The pile of questions that needs to be answered is now the size of 2 giraffes balanced on each other, but you know, like one is doing a headstand on the other's head, which is particularly tricky. It's very hard for them to do that. It takes a lot of practice. But look, I will get round to all your questions, or they'll all fall over and I'll be trapped underneath the pile of questions and I'll have to live under all of them and survive by eating my own socks, which I hope that doesn't happen. I've got really horrible socks on today. But as well as questions, I've also been sent in this week a joke. Hooray! And this joke is from Sammy, who says they are 10 or 100, but we just don't know. Which is it? We just don't know. And they live in Canada. So, Sammy sent in, and this is a knock-knock joke, so I will read it like I read all knock-knock jokes, as though I am 2 completely different people. Sammy sent in, my joke is as follows. Knock, knock! Who's there? Why'd you always have to ask that? Just let me in! Sammy, that is an amazingly funny joke, and thank you for putting it at the end. P.S. I love radio nonsense, so thank you for that. And that is a very good joke, and I hope it is a joke and you're not just locked out. If you are locked out, hopefully your bleating fartophs will hear this and finally let you in. Either way, thank you tons for sending it in. That is absolutely brilliant. Right, now for the most importantest bit of the show!
A dinosaur may have enjoyed the fruits of this plant for dessert.
I'm joined on the podcast today by Iszi Lawrence, who you, of course, listeners will know as Izzy, the Never Been Dizzy, or by her legendary title as the Hamster Whisperer, or, of course, how could we forget, as the inventor of onions. How are you, Izzy?
I'm very smelly, but I've moved away from the onions, and I told another hamster about that. I got a mate of mine, right, it's called Boris. He's actually a rat, but we have to pretend he's a hamster because he gets quite sensitive about it. But Boris sort of says that my onion smell has gone down the last few days, and I'm thinking about switching to garlic.
Oh, that's very exciting. I've got a lot of questions already to ask you.
Yeah.
I didn't know you'd been up to so much, but Boris is how do you make a rat pretend to be a hamster? Does he just have to have lots of food in his cheeks at all time? Or...
He does do that. He overstuffs his cheeks. He hides his tail. It's rather embarrassing. He pretends it's a worm. He just goes around and he calls it a python. It's not a python. It looks like a worm. It's a tiny little tail. Like the squirrels really make fun of him about his tail, which I think is really unfortunate. Harsh. Because, Squirrel's got these big fluffy tails. He's got this little tail that he doesn't even acknowledge. He pretends he's a hamster. So it's a tough life being Boris. But he speaks 5 languages, does Boris. So he's quite, he speaks hamster, Greek, Russian, and he speaks computer code and English.
Wow, and I assume, and rat as well. On top
no,
of
he
that,
doesn't speak rat. He wasn't brought up with rats. He was brought up with squirrels. Yeah, that's why he's so
Oh, I see.
Upset about his
tail.
Wow,
people's sort of histories are fascinating, and rats' histories obviously are fascinating too. And it's also weird, isn't it? As I said, you're known as the hamster whisperer, but here you are, you're talking to a rat who knows squirrel.
This is the thing. People assume that I'm best friends with all these hamsters. I know a few Syrian hamsters. I do not know any Russian hamsters because you miss them, don't you? They're like marbles. I swear, they're just tiny little things, and they just occasionally I'll lift up like a sofa cushion, about 8 of them will be under there, and I'll try and start up a conversation, but they just don't want to know. They like to be acknowledged, your little Russian hamsters. Syrian ones much more laid back, and obviously Boris hangs with the Syrian ones because he's similar in size to them, even though he's still a bit big. They mock him for his tail. Makes sense.
Though. Yeah,
worse than the squirrel.
It does make sense, and it is a constant. I find that I'm just sort of I'll put a slipper on. There'll be 12 hamsters in there. You sort of go to the loo, get a bit of loo roll, and suddenly 4 hamsters will fall out. They just seem to have that thing where they turn up in all sorts of places.
They take things very seriously. I mean, at the moment we've got a big campaign. We're trying to get hamster ancestors, like hamster dinosaurs, into the Natural History Museum. So we've nearly got them to do. There's a particular type of old hamster called a Volaticitherium, which is possibly my favourite word of the past. But it's a real creature.
Can you say it again?
Volaticitherium.
Volaticitherium.
Volaticitherium. It's a flying squirrel, so it's like the perfect uniting. It's like a Batman that isn't a bat, but it's in the past, and it's like a dinosaur, but it's not a dinosaur, it's a mammal. But it's a really old, mousy type thing. So it's like a flying rat, and it's called a Volaticitherium. And if you go to school and say Volaticitherium 6 times, your teacher will give you a gold star no matter what. I can almost guarantee it. Volaticitherium.
That's got to be true. Yeah, I mean, Volaticitherium. That is, I might just say that. I might just sort of run around my neighbourhood shouting that quite a lot.
It's good. I mean, I do. Boris doesn't like it, though. He likes things on the down low. He's quite cool.
Yes, that's very true. Yeah, I can see that. Well, I mean, that is it's very exciting to talk about hamster. But you were just also you're saying might be moving from onions to garlic, and I guess that's good for keeping vampires away. But I mean, onions. People like onions. Onions go great in crisp flavors. Mm-hmm. They go in so many meals. They don't keep monsters away though. Onions, I don't think.
They don't particularly. I mean, supposedly they're meant to keep in the olden times when they're times of plague, they're meant to keep plague away. But to be honest, I don't think they do. I just think they're they're also a bit bigger. They're a bit heavier around the neck, whereas a bit of garlic goes around the neck rather lovely. That's true. As necklaces go, I mean, it's very out there. If you're dressing your fashion up, big chain of onions, it's very French. And garlic, also quite French, but more vampire-y as well. So you've got that horror sort of side to it. So I'm going more in the smaller, I'm thinking about making a chain of ginger, but the trouble with ginger is once it gets dry, it shrinks a lot, and it just doesn't do such a good sort of day wear. Maybe at night you could wear ginger, be a bit more. If you're going travelling, I recommend taking a ginger necklace just so you can have a little nibble, because that'll soothe your stomach and stuff and stop you wanting to vomit.
That's a really good tip. Have you ever thought about sort of having a mixed necklace? So it's a bit of ginger, a bit of garlic, maybe an onion, and then when you're hungry, you can just sort of like pick bits off, cook them up, and
don't eat raw
nice,
garlic.
spices.
Do not eat raw garlic. You'll take a knee eating raw garlic. It is intense. Don't do that to yourself. But a little nibble of ginger. It's spicy, but you'll be all right. But I love that idea, because you could also you could basically make your own sort of complete spice rack around your neck, couldn't you? I mean, it'd take a long time to get a thread through all the mustard seeds, but you could
That'd be very tricky,
do it. You could do it, and that would be like ultimate. And then you see, once you've got your spice rack sorted around your neck, you could do other things. So you could have carrots, drilled through carrots and put them on your fingers, or you could have a potato hat. You could do all sorts of things, like a big squash jacket. That's what, and then you'll be just sorted.
Who doesn't
and a
want
saucepan
that?
on your back.
Butternut squash. It's a lovely colour too.
It's beautiful. It's a good shape.
It looked like a high vis. Yeah. I was the spice necklace. I'm just trying to think things like cumin, or a bit of turmeric. Would you just sort of sprinkle a bit over part of the necklace, or would you have to get the original? Turmeric root, or I mean,
the thing is, what you want to do with turmeric, and you've got to be really careful, because it really dyes everything bright yellow. But if you're going for the look, you could actually dip your hands in the turmeric, and then anything you wanted to be like turmeric, you could smear your hands all over. I mean, it's not very hygienic, but it would look amazing.
It would look amazing. And with the butternut squash vest, the turmeric hands, maybe you said a potato hat, but maybe if you had a pomegranate hat, or you had some sort of bright red hat, I mean, I just think you'd look really fancy. I
think you would look awesome fancy. Watermelon trousers. Just,
Oh,
it'd be quite squelchy, but I think you'd get used to it.
Squelchy, but in the hot weather, refreshing.
Oh, yeah, very refreshing. Yeah, I can see that. And but you got to watch out for the seeds. You might want to de-seed it first.
Yes, that's also a very good point.
Unless you can spit out watermelon pips just using your bum.
That would be, again, very refreshing for you, but it'd be pretty disgusting for everyone else.
Because that's a game I play occasionally. You get a watermelon and you spit the pips as far as you can. And
good. I was worried what you were going to say then. Yeah,
farther.
Sure, yeah.
But if you could do that with your bum, you'd be the king of the playground.
What you'd want to do is you'd want to eat a whole slice, because also you'd look really cool eating the watermelon with all the pips in it. Because I always think, I can't do that. I always don't like those bits when you get the pips, and it's like, oh no, there's a pip. But if you just ate the whole thing, even the rind or whatever, and then you just sort of pulled your trousers down, like a machine gun.
What you need to do is you need to be like Boris, because you remember Boris is a rat, but he's been practicing at being a hamster for ages now, and he can store the pips in his cheeks as he goes. You see, he's really good at that. I'll get him to spit them and see how far he can go, though, because it'll be interesting to know. I mean, we could have a little mini Olympics with hamsters versus rats and seeing how far they can spit watermelon pips. Not using their bums, though.
With mouths. Yeah, I was going to say not bums. Also, for rodents, they've got tails. The tails could get in the way. That's a whole difficult.
There's a whole thing there. But I mean, technically, rats have got slightly bigger heads, so maybe they'll be able to spit further. But they have got tails, and that could. The balance issues, it's quite technical. I mean, you need to get some really good commentators for that particular match.
Absolutely. Well, I mean, Izzy, I was going to ask you sort of, what you've been up to, but you've been up to loads. You've just been doing... I mean, you've been doing loads of things with all your hamster whispering, but your rat whispering, hamster whispering, and
my
the watermelon
industry,
firing, and yeah. I mean,
my necklace creations. Yeah, it's all been going. It's been really quite intense over the full lockdown, and because I spent so much time on my own, I'm coming up with ideas every day. It's amazing.
That is pretty good. That is really good. And in fact, I should ask you really, because a lot of our listeners, well, people aren't really at home so much now. They can now go outside, but there's not really anything to do anywhere.
So it's sort of it's the sky and trees. What are you going to do with the sky? Ceilings you can draw on if you have a trampoline, right? Can't draw on the sky.
No, that's true, isn't it? I'd never that drawing on the ceiling with a trampoline is, but I guess you just got to do a little bit at a time each bounce.
Well, you know, like if you go to like Italy, they have these amazing like ceilings done by Michelangelo and that. So they're like gods on the ceiling, all the angels and everything else, right? The way they did that was trampolines. They just jumped on the trampoline, took a little swipe, fell back down, jumped to the trampoline. The thing is, if you're a master, if you're a great Italian master, what they did was they had different colours and they'd be able to, on the bounce, wiggle it in the water, their paintbrush, and then get the right colour and then go up there and immediately do it again. I mean,
that's really
got to be good at painting to be able to do that. And if you do a flip.
Is that why it took so long? Because all those paintings took years and years and years, didn't it?
Yeah.
And I guess if you're having to do it with each and every bounce, it's going to take a really long time.
It is going to take a really long time. And also, remember, this is before they had elastic for the trampolines. So what they'd have to do is they just get wild animals and stretch them out. So they'd have to get, like, you know, a cow or something big like a hippopotamus, hold it down, and then bounce on its stomach because they've got nice big bouncy stomachs. And the hippos didn't mind it after a while, but they didn't like getting covered in paint. That was
and also I guess you've also got to have an adequate gap between meal times because if a hippo's just eaten, you bounce and then it'll puke it all out, or you know, like
it can be like that.
There's a lot of issues with
but they mainly eat grass, so it's actually quite a good green.
Sure, that's true. I mean, there are questions about animal cruelty, but as you said, they liked it, so I feel
they
like
did like it. I mean,
this was in the
these
past,
were old
you know.
hippos. These are old hippos. They're in Italy. There's no big like if they were in the Nile, fair enough, because the Nile's where they're happy. They're like big rivers and that sort of things in Africa and stuff like that. They're great for that. But in Italy, there's no big rivers like that. There's no crocodiles. So what they're going to do all day? They're going to lie in a church and have brilliant artists bounce off their tummies so they can paint ceilings.
Yeah, and I mean, you've got to be happy with that, haven't you? I mean, you've got to be happy
so.
with your part in that. This is why it's so good having someone that knows about history like yourself on the podcast. We haven't had historical insights like this from anyone yet so far. So that is great. Well, what I was going to ask you, I mean, I feel like you've already given us a brilliant tip that you know, people listening can paint the ceilings if they haven't done that already. But I just wonder if you've got anything else that you might recommend, if not just for people stuck at home, if they're stuck in their area, if there's just not a lot to do. What's been the thing that you've kept yourself entertained with that you can recommend?
If you want to go through all the bookshelves and then read a page from one book and then a page from the other book, and then try and make up your own story, that is a good thing to do. I like to make up stories. This is what I make myself interested in. So what I like to do is I'm not very good at making stuff up myself. So what I do is I take a character from an existing book and I put them in another book, and then I can make up my own story. So you could have Sherlock Holmes, but set it in Tudor times, or you can have like a Roald Dahl book like The Twits, but set it like in a sort of dystopian future where they've got like iPhones and stuff like that and they're trying to share apps and they're not allowed. And so you can have a really good, that's what I recommend. Making up stories is always good. You don't have to use books. You can use like films. You can use your toys. You can use like your friends and family. Don't tell them though, because they get really upset if you're mean.
That's such a good tip. You see, because my daughter's only 3, and so all her books are little kids' books. So some of them are brilliant. But like you could do have Spot the Dog, but then hide it somewhere in some of the grown-up books. So Spot the Dog in a murder mystery.
Yeah, no. You could even do it with her books, because Spot the Dog and the Very Hungry Caterpillar becomes terrifying.
Whoa.
Because the very hungry caterpillar will be eating all Spot's food and Spot the Dog looks tasty. Oh no! So you've got Spot the Dog running away from the... can Spot the Dog get away before the caterpillar becomes a butterfly? That is the question.
I mean, you've made me realise how terrifying the Very Hungry Caterpillar would be in almost any other situation other than the Very Hungry Caterpillar.
Also, it does eat watermelons and doesn't mention what it does with the seeds. It's lacking detail, that book. It's lacking detail.
That is true.
Which spitter is it? Is it the front or the rear? That's what we need to know. How does it get rid of the seeds?
That's true. And I suppose maybe it saves them till it's a butterfly and then fires them out the bum from on high.
It's a bumberfly.
Whoa.
Or actually, no, because in American it's butt, isn't it? They call a bum a butt. So it is a butt.
So it is a butterfly. That's why it's called that. Oh my goodness! See, this is why I said. This is why we need an expert like you on this show. That's an insight that I just don't think we'd realise that butterflies are called that because they fly around with their bums. Yeah.
They're butterflies. They can fly up your bum as well. So be very careful around butterflies.
No,
they're harmless. They don't bite you. They're not like wasps. They don't sting you, but they might fly up your bum because they're called butterflies.
Which is why it's useful to have watermelon seeds ready so that you can fire them back out. This makes perfect sense. You've got to safety first. Yeah, everything does link. Wow. Well, that's an amazing tip. Thank you for that, Izzy. And I've got a couple of questions I have to ask you for the show. Obviously, this is an audio show. Listeners are hearing it potentially with their ears, but we don't discriminate. If they want to listen to it with their bums or their noses, that is fine. But I just wondered if you had a favourite noise that you could either make for our listeners or tell them.
My favourite noise that I make, right, in the olden days when I used to watch motor racing, right, there's a thing called the Doppler effect as a car goes straight past you and into the distance. And when I was a kid, I could do a perfect Formula One car noise from like the 1990s. Okay, so this is it. And that is the only way I got friends.
That is brilliant. That is absolutely brilliant. That is really remarkable, actually. That is a really remarkable sound. And do you ever sort of just make that noise when you're out and about and people think, wow, was there a super fast car that's just gone by and I hadn't noticed?
I can trick a few people. If I want people, like, if I am on my bike, right, and there are people really, really slow on the zebra crossing, I'm just like, and they're like, oh, and they run to get out of the way. So they don't get crashed into by Jacques Villeneuve.
All the listeners will know exactly. All the kids listening will know exactly who that is. So that's fine. Good, brilliant. Well, that amazing noise, and of course the thing I have to check is, it's a family friendly podcast. It is suitable for people of all possible ages that you can imagine, numbers and letters. And I just want to check if there are any words that you definitely won't be saying throughout the show to make sure that it is family friendly. Any rude words that you
I wouldn't ever say bum face. Because calling someone a bum face is serious, because you don't know if somebody calls you a bum face, you don't know if they think that your bum looks like a face, or your face looks like a bum rather, or you have an actual bum face, which is you actually have a bum on your head and it is a bum and it is a face. What is it? When you call me a bum face, what do you mean? It's very upsetting. Don't call people bum faces.
And also then the watermelon seed situation. How do you know where you're firing them from?
Well, I mean, people with an actual bum face would do really well in a spitting competition, but it would smell.
It would really smell. Yeah, it would. And also, you've got the issue of pants on your head or pants on your bum. Exactly. Pants on your bum face head, pants on your face bum.
Would you wear a woolly hat on your bottom if you had pants on your head?
I mean, it'd be really cosy. I think in like a really cold day, I could always think like putting a woolly hat on your bum would be really comfy.
Bobble. Where does the bobble go?
Well, rabbits have got like a little bobble bum,
true.
And they are fine, aren't they? So
is that because they've got little woolly hats on their bottoms?
It must be. Maybe they've all got bum faces and face bums.
I need to look up now. I need to go on the internet and find out if a Voloticotherium has a little lovely fluffy bum, or if it's just got a little tail. I think it's got a little small tail rather than a fluffy. But the thing is, they're fossils. They could have had a fluffy tail like a rabbit, I suppose, because we've never seen one alive because they're like really old.
Do you reckon there's just one hiding out somewhere though, still somewhere around?
Or maybe. I mean, the thing is, like, I lose scissors all the time, so there might be dinosaurs around. I mean, technically, we see dinosaurs every day because technically all birds are dinosaurs. That is fact. That is real. But like, there might be in some sort of like lost forest up in like Russia somewhere, there might be like a dinosaur going around going, what's happened? Where's everyone gone? Oh,
I'd
it's
love
just
that.
me. Oh, well.
I just love it if they're walking around wearing like shades and a little hat and just be like, I hope no one recognises I'm a dinosaur.
Yeah, that might be the case. I mean, we might have spy dinosaurs. What if there were dinosaurs which were actually really good at like camouflage and subterfuge? Because they have found there are crocodiles, right? They put them under lamps and they change colour a little bit. So like the babies go dark at night and light during the day, which means in crocodiles, it's a really old reptile, they can do that. So maybe some dinosaurs might have evolved to change colour a little bit. And once they can change colour, they could be up in the sky. They could all be blue and then change colour to grey when it's cloudy and only like special people can see them.
I mean, this is
Don't
both really exciting and absolutely terrifying. Like the idea of like a crocodile that can just suddenly disguise itself in your wardrobe would be really scary and
I
massively
wouldn't worry
cool.
because they don't like wearing clothes. They're weird crocodiles. They like being nude all the time. Just
So
run around.
strange, isn't it?
You know the
But when
kid
you're
like
that sort
that
of
who
shape, it's-
the moment you get to the beach and stuff, they just completely take everything but their pants off and then run in the sea. That's a crocodile for you. Like except they take their pants off.
That has got to be partly because if you've got those kind of little legs but a very big tail, like finding trousers that fit has got to be really hard. Yeah, really hard.
Yeah, it must be
see
difficult.
Yeah.
But,
wow. Well, no, but not going to be saying bum face. Thank you for that. I won't say
Yeah.
bum face either. We'll make sure no
don't
one on the
call
show says
people
bum
bum
faces.
faces.
Just too
and
rude.
don't be specific about which they are. If they have a bum for a face or they are an actual bum face.
Yeah. Either of those is quite.
It's
just
bad.
I think it's not just offensive. It's kind of insensitive to people that do have bum faces and suffer from having a big bum face. So
Because, I mean, their lives are difficult. And I think I actually have a little note here from the spokesperson of the bum faces. And they put this out only the other day on Twitter, and it says... And I think we can all agree.
yeah, that's very sensible words. Very sensible words. Wow. Didn't realise you were personally in touch with them, but I'm pleased that you could be here. And
I did say Twitter. No, it's
for them.
Twitter.
Yeah.
I can't claim to know them personally.
Oh, sure. Sure.
I'm not related to them like you are.
Oh, no! Oh, no, I just got slammed. I wasn't expecting that. Wow, that was like sort of Spinosaur skills there, just coming out of nowhere with a slam. Unbelievable. Well, we're going to move on very quickly from my potential bumface ancestry, which I don't have, and I won't be saying bumface, so I'm not actually allowed to talk about my bumface ancestors because I can't talk about their bumfaces. Right,
Hanging out with Volaticotheriums.
yeah, that's it. And the Volaticotheriums being like, which is your bum and which is your face? This is too confusing. I'm going to go extinct. I can see it all happening. That's how it all plays out. Well, look, Izzy, I've got you here. I've got you here for a very important reason, right?
Yeah.
With all your qualifications, all your skills, all your knowledge, we have had a question that's come in that I think this is for you, and I think you can answer it.
I'll try.
That's why I've asked you to be here. So it's been sent in by Henry, who is
Yep.
aged 9 or 6, standing on his head. I'm not sure, one or the other.
difficult
And
to tell.
Henry has asked. This is 2 questions.
Oh,
And I'll give them
2?
to you all at once. Yeah, 2.
Okay.
I know, but when you hear them, I don't know. I think they might be linked. I'm not sure.
Okay.
I'm going to give you both at the same time, but we can answer them one at a time if you like. So, he's asked, will there be cyborgs in the future? Question 1. And more importantly, question 2, why aren't suit trousers actually called Buttoxedos, or are they already called that? Yeah.
Nice.
So now, how do you want to tackle it? Do you want to tackle that all at once, or do you think we should go one at a time?
I think first of all we can say cyborgs exist now, so obviously they will be in the future, unless it's just somebody with a bit of tech in them. So people like with pacemakers are essentially like cyborgs. If you got something in you that's like my gran's got a hip replacement. She's half robot, half gran. That's like a whole new thing. So that goes all the way back. What?
Hang on, I've got a diabetic insulin pump, right, which is sort
You
of
are a
attached to me.
cyborg.
Am I a cyborg?
You're a cyborg. Like, if you've got, like, hearing aids, or even, I would technically say, even though it's not electronic, glasses, anybody with glasses is a cyborg, because you're using technology to make yourself, like, complete and be able to fulfill tasks and everything else. So I would say there are cyborgs alive now. I think there is an actual artist in New York who's got, like, he gave himself antennas. He, like, screwed them into his head. So he's actually got antennas which electronically work. So he can, like, he's got, like, you know how, like, bees, like, have these little, like, antennas that they clean constantly, right? Well, they, like, help the bee fly around and see what's around it. He's got this in his head, and it sort of tells his brain that there are people close to him, even though, like, it's New York. There are always people close to him. But that's what it is. People, like, they have them. So this has already been a thing. Cyborgs exist now. Never mind the future.
Well, hang on. These antennas on your head, like, wouldn't that be really annoying? Like, someone's talking to you and you suddenly tune into a radio station.
That would be annoying.
Away.
That would be brilliant. Imagine sitting in school and you're doing maths or something, like, I don't know, you might like maths. Say you're doing history, or say you're doing, like, art and you hate paint, right? So you could just tune in, and then you could, like, work out how to download this podcast, and then try and paint a ceiling by, like, jumping on a chair and pretending it's a hippo.
That is good. That is actually pretty good. Would you have robot bits? Would you like part of you replaced with robot parts?
Yeah, I'd have, like, all bits of me. So, like, I want, right, instead of teeth, I'd like buttons that played music. That'd be good.
I would so love that. And not only because also I think I'd still brush my teeth just for the musical tunes that you'd get from it. Yeah.
You could, like, those really clever people who can play violin and play flute and that. You could, like, sell out a musical concert with everybody, like, in their best finery, in opera style, and then, like, get your toothbrush and just be like ding 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 like that, and everybody would applaud and it'd be amazing. You get flowers.
That'd be incredible.
It would be good.
Also, if you had a robot bum, you could properly fire watermelon seeds at like really terrifying.
I mean, you might be called up for the army for that. Because, like, imagine, never mind a gun, if you had a gun built in, and all you had to do was, like, bend over, show your bum to the enemy, and then just fire watermelon seeds at them. They'd just run away panicked, and you'd win the war.
Yeah.
Easy.
Get the machine bum. That's what they'd say.
Exactly.
Yeah,
machine
amazing.
bum is
the
definitely...
artillery bum.
We need to use that. We need to use that more, machine bum.
Absolutely.
Do you reckon, back when the machine gun was first invented, like just before the First World War, right, back then, right, do you reckon that the generals got confused and would call them machine bums because they were silly old men with moustaches?
Almost certainly. I mean, of course you'd have to, wouldn't you? Because like it's such a close word.
Yeah,
it must be really tempting to say machine bum instead of machine gun over and over again. Yeah, yeah.
It must be a thing. Yeah.
Yeah,
cool.
I was going to ask as well, like if you, because my worry about cyborgs is like, say if I was more, because obviously I got my insulin pump, which I didn't realize made me a cyborg, but other than that, if I was more cyborg, like what if you were say going to the shops and then like the half of your body as cyborg ran out of batteries?
Oh, that'd be.
And then you had to drag it a lot. Like what would happen then? Like,
but you're diabetic, so that happens with your human side too. That is what diabetes is. You just run out of batteries on one side, don't you? In that, with your human side, and you need to get a banana or some sugar in you to keep you going, and that's so it happens anyway with biology. So it's just different, except instead of a banana, you have to stick your finger in a plug socket. Don't do that, kids, ever. But that's don't do that. No.
Don't do that. Don't do that.
Or you have to pick up a battery and just hold it to your forehead like this to charge or something. But it would be. So if it happens to your natural, body anyway, it doesn't really matter if it, you had to, just touch a battery pack or, eat, some grapes. I mean, what's more troubling? At least you'd be able to charge really quickly. And you can actually make your bed, because you know how they got those chargers now? You just put your phone on and they can charge your phone without being plugged in.
You can make your whole bed like one of those charging stations. That's a brilliant idea, yeah. And you'd have to, but that'd be the thing is you'd have to take your charger with you, because it'd be really awkward if you were like somewhere and you're like, oh no, my bum's run out of battery. Has anyone got a bum charger? And
but
then
people would lend you,
if
it meant that if your bum ran out of battery, it would empty everything out. People would lend you their charger much quicker than they normally would. Yeah. So it might encourage a sharing environment.
Yes, that is true. That is true. Well, I mean, I suppose you pointed out that cyborgs are there now, but Henry's question said, "Will there be cyborgs in the future?" So he's actually not asking if there even if there are cyborgs now. Yeah. Will they be in the future, or will we have replaced it with something else now?
I was asking. I was in a school and I asked a little girl how long she thought the planet would be around for, and she said 20 years. So if it's gonna end then how far in the future we're talking? If we're talking next Tuesday, definitely cyborgs. If we're talking like a million squillion years, likely, but who knows?
Sure. Well, I was also wondering, if there's going to come a point, because, right now it'd be really cool, to make you part tech and part robot, but in the future it might be better to be part cereal or part, we might kind of develop new things, part onions. We were talking a lot about spice necklaces. I wondered if you had any foresight on what we might have instead of cyborgs that people might want to, have on their body, I suppose.
if we go by Boris's dreams, I mean, we'd all be part hamster and just have really big cheeks. So you wouldn't take a rucksack to school. All your books would go in your cheeks, and and also it'd be easier for the bum faces to fit in because everybody would have big bum cheeks.
That's true, and there is a place in Germany called Hamburg, so maybe that's where it would start. Yeah. Wow. Well, I think you've absolutely, answered
also,
that as
can
fully
I
as
just
possible.
very quickly say bum tuxedo or bum? What did he call it? It's a buttoxedo.
Oh, buttoxedo. Well, that's what I was going to ask you
Brilliant.
about next. Yeah.
Exactly. That's amazing. I love that.
Well,
Buttoxedo.
He's asked why aren't they called that? Why aren't they called buttoxedos, or are they already called that? And I don't think they are already called that.
No, they're not already called that. And I think that is because grown-ups are really boring, right? That is why, because they saw, oh, look, it's a really posh tuxedo, part of it, for your bottom bits. What should we call it? Trousers. That's really stupid. So, buttoxedo. I'm going to use that forever now. I think that's great.
That was great, and I should just apologise then to the Bumface Society. I didn't mean to insult them. I was blowing a raspberry.
I thought you were quoting them. Oh no.
Yeah, no, I'm sorry. I just take that back. But yeah, you're right. So I feel like it should be called Buttoxedos, and I don't really know what else to say to Henry other than that maybe he should patent that and sort of get it out there.
I just think he needs to name more things. That is maybe his job in the future. Is like. Maybe he can go in, because you know how people have made up jobs now. So some people go in and I am an expert on this, and I will go and tell you that your film is wrong or something like that. He could do that to dictionary. So you just go, no, that's the wrong word for that. You mean buttoxedo. You don't mean posh trousers, And he could name stuff, and he could be
it's the way that I was going to say that it works because it's buttocks-edo. It's the way that it works. Tuxedo.
Yeah, tuxedo.
And buttoxedo. You've got almost double butt in that, which is really difficult to do. There's not many. I mean,
whoever named the buttercup is a genius, because the buttercup. Everybody thinks, it's because it's butter, but as we've already explained, butter is like butterfly. It's actually buttock, buttercup. So when you're reaching to pick your buttercup, that's what you do, and you hold it under your chin and see if you like butter. Sorry.
Wow, that's really changed also because there's that sort of margarine called I can't believe it's not butter, but that's someone saying I can't believe this isn't a bum.
Well, maybe it is, isn't it? I mean, if your bum does look like a packet of margarine, I think you might need to see the doctor, because that isn't good.
Yes.
I mean, don't spread your bum on toast. That is not nice. No, don't do that.
Awful. It doesn't matter how warm it is. Don't do that. It's not.
Or even on a jacket potato. It's not worth it. Just go to the doctors. Yeah.
Yeah. Good advice. Really solid advice from you, Izzy, today. Thank you so much for answering Henry's question. He should be very happy with that, and I think, to be honest, he should be very happy coming up with buttoxedos anyway.
Yeah, I mean, really, he might have peaked. That might be his greatest achievement in life, because I think it is amazing.
Well, I think he should do that, and I hope if they won't accept that for the trousers of tuxedos and changing the name, then I hope that he is able to invent suits that are just for bums or just for bum faces and call them buttoxedos, and you can have mini trousers that hang on your ears, and I think that would be lovely.
I think it would do too. Yeah,
would be. Well, thank you for that. And look, listen, before you go, I've got to talk to you about a couple of things, because firstly, you've got things that our listeners can check out, haven't you? You've got your brilliant book, The Unstoppable Letty Peg.
That is true. It is a book, right? And everybody goes, it's going to be really boring because it's about the suffragettes and who cares about... When I was at school, the suffragettes were these women who were really, really meek, and they got locked up in prison and they didn't eat any food, and then the men gave them the vote, blah, blah, blah. But it's not true, because in the actual history, what really happened, and I'm not making this up, right? They fought with men. So you had these women in their big dresses and stuff doing jiu-jitsu against the police. So that is what The Unstoppable Letty Peg is about. It's the true story of the suffragettes, and it is about a little girl called Letty Peg who is 11 years old, and she's in a real big problem because the suffragettes were fighting the police, but her mum is a suffragette and her dad is a policeman. So she's right in the middle, and it's really sort of bad. But she does learn to fight jiu-jitsu properly, and she might have to fight the police and that sort of thing. So it's quite cool. It's quite cool, and it's all set in the past, like I said, over 100 years ago. It's 110 years ago. It's a huge amount of time, but there were kids back then, and they were just like us. So it's really quite cool.
It's so awesome, and also because I know you do jujitsu. You know,
I do jujitsu.
I do jujitsu.
I do.
And would you find jujitsu easier in one of those big suffragette dresses? Because obviously, like when you think about it, it's probably you'd think, well, they were quite cumbersome, but actually, it's almost like armor for your legs.
Well, you think so. Actually, what those dresses had was big pockets stitched in them, and in them they'd hide weapons. So you'd have like a hammer in there, or an Indian club. And an Indian club's like a bowling pin. It's huge. And they used to whirl those around, and then they wouldn't hit the police, but the police might walk into them as they were whirling it around. And therefore, it's the policeman's fault if they came too close. But, this is what they did. So they had like loads of secret gadgets and like armor in them. But also like, it's weird because jiu-jitsu is a lot of hip throws and a lot of arm locks and that sort of thing. So actually, because they had tiny little heels, it's actually quite easier to do a hip throw if you've got your feet raised slightly. Your balance is slightly better. So, and they were little. Like, I'm a bit too big to do jiu-jitsu. I am massive. I am 6 foot, which is like 180 centimetres, which is really tall. But they were really little. So, like, Edith Garrod, who was a real-life suffragette, right? She was only 4'11". Which is tiny.
Wow, that's tiny.
Right, yeah. And she would throw, like, literally, there is, like in the newspaper, there's, like, talk of her, like, beating up a 6-foot policeman. So, and throwing him over her head and smashing him into the ground. So, like, this is what they were doing to sort of, like, for women's right to vote. Letty Pegg doesn't care about women's right to vote because she's like 10, so whatevs. But she does care because her mum cares and her dad cares, and so that's why it's interesting. It's because it's a story. It's a real story. So
it's so interesting. It's such an exciting thing. I want to see. I want to see. I want to see a film of your book. I want to see the Unstoppable Letty Pegg film. But I want to see like superhero films just of suffragettes like going out and taking down. Villains by hiding weapons in their dresses. Like, this sounds like the coolest story I've ever heard.
Well, it's really fun, and it's with a publisher called Bloomsbury, which is the same as Harry Potter. So I feel like people have heard of Harry Potter. They're going to hear of me. That's going to be the thing. So you should get a copy when you can. So it's called The Unstoppable Letty Pegg, and I am Iszi, which is ISZI, which is a really stupid way of spelling it. But if you put ISZI into like Amazon or Google or something, you'll find it. Or ask your bookshop.
You'll be fine, and there will be many links within the podcast blurb for you to click on.
That's all I want.
Yeah, and the other thing, of course, that you've got to tell listeners about is your podcast, Terrible Lizards.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, we've already discussed camouflaging crocodiles.
Sorry, I get very excited about Terrible Lizards because it is a podcast about dinosaurs, and I love dinosaurs, and I am best friends with a dinosaur expert. He's a paleontologist from a university. He has, like, literally stood inside a T-Rex face. So he's got inside the skull of a T-Rex, and it is really big. So he knows all about tyrannosaurs. He knows all about things which aren't even dinosaurs, things like pterosaurs. Did you know that they aren't dinosaurs? What? Like a pigeon is anatomically, scientifically, an actual dinosaur, and a pterosaur isn't. I know. And like we've done episodes on them and marine reptiles, like all the mosasaurs and stuff. So all the stuff that you see in Jurassic Park, we explain the bits they've got right, the bits they've got wrong, and it is right. It's for grown-ups, but it is. We got loads of kids listening to it, and they're proper brainy kids. But, this is the thing. And it's kids who love dinosaurs love hearing about it because it's about how we know what we know. Because these things lived millions of years ago. And I thought last Tuesday was a long time. But literally, it's so far in the past. And they were basically big birds, but with, like, scary faces.
Yeah,
but birds...
there was a news story the other day, wasn't there, about how many Tyrannosaurus Rexes there were and how they were just everywhere. There were billions of them. And I just like the idea that you'd just be out walking about. Oh, there's another 4 Tyrannosauruses. Oh, there's 5 at the bus stop, and there's 12 in the park. Like they'd just be everywhere.
And they couldn't shake hands or like give each other high fives. Very little. One of the things that I want you to know is all your toys with like Velociraptors and Tyrannosaurus Rex that does the sort of bunny hands where their hands flop over like they do in the Jurassic Park movies. That is wrong. Okay.
What?
Because they had bird-like wrists. They had a thing called a semilunate carpal, which is a type of bone in the wrist, right? And what it meant was if you get your hand out and you try and touch your little finger onto your forearm, they can do that because that's the way their wrists would fold like a bird.
What?
And so that is what they did. So they sort of did like a judo chop motion. They didn't do a bunny flop motion. And that is how that their wrists.
That's really cool.
So they really could. They'd have to sort of like swing like a baseball bat in order to hit the other one because they couldn't turn their wrists and give a high five.
That's amazing. It's also that's like the perfect motion if you wanted to like quick draw like for a shootout in a Wild Western.
Yeah,
or a
it's
machine
perfect for
bum,
that.
I suppose, or something like that. Yeah.
They could do that, or even do a running man. Just really sort of like
Yes.
you know,
yeah.
that sort of thing. But yeah, they're really cool. Obviously, everybody loves dinosaurs, so I thought let's make a dinosaur podcast because people need to know about dinosaurs. So if you want to find out about them, and like it is proper, it's proper nature documentary. So we talk about like the eggs, where they come from. We talk about all of the big animals. We talk about the little animals. We talk about when they died out, why they died out, all of this sort of stuff. So if you like dinosaurs, it's worth listening to. And if you are a grown-up listening to this, you are allowed to listen to, because technically,
that's nice.
Technically, it's for grown-ups, but there's kids like it a lot.
Yeah, and it's nice for grown-ups to have the occasional thing because normally they have to do boring things like watch the news or I don't know, just fart.
I have to do accounts, and I have to make the dinner, and I have to hoover this thing.
Oh, sorry. Bum faces.
Oh yeah, don't you see bum faces again? You've got to be careful.
Sorry, I apologise. Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah.
But yeah, so like and knowing stuff about dinosaurs is really cool. The fact that velociraptors, you see the velociraptors in the Jurassic Park film, they were entirely feathered. They looked like birds, but with massive long tails. They had feathers all over them, including so they had little wings, and they'd use their wings like how like Formula One cars and like use downforce wings at the front of their cars to brake really quickly and to turn corners. Exactly the same thing with a velociraptor's wings. It would use it to turn and like brake really sharply and move. Also, like they'd use them to mantle, so they would trap something in their wings. They'd like hold a cloak over them. So they had the feathers going down, so the thing didn't know where, and they'd hold them down with their feet and attack them with their face. They had that really long snickety claw.
Chickens.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Well, chickens are dinosaurs, they're the same thing.
Yeah, that's so crazy. Well, how incredibly exciting. And so listeners, please check out Terrible Lizards, available at all of the podcast places. Wherever you get this one from, I don't know how you get it. You might get it from a little podcast
got
valve
it from
in
your
the wall
antenna,
or
didn't you?
something.
They got it from their little
that's
cyborg
it.
antenna.
So
That's what it
retune
is.
that and get Terrible Lizards as well. That's how it works, isn't it? Absolutely. Brilliant. Well, thank you tons, Izzy. Thank you for answering your questions. Thank you for all your expertise and your brilliant trampolining tips as well. Have you got an exciting rest of the day planned?
Yeah, I'm going to eat a lot of watermelon and see if I can break the record.
Good luck. Very good luck to you.
Thanks.
And like a cow or elephant today, spent most of his waking hours eating.
Big thanks to Izzy for not only answering Henry's questions, but also her amazing dino facts, trampolining tips, and watermelon bum ideas. I hope, Henry, that those answers have helped. And seriously, do go copyright Buttoxedos right now. Copyright it right now, put it under your name, and make sure it's yours. And go and make special suits that people can wear on their butts right now. Do that right now. If you have a question that you need answering, or a joke that you'd like to tell us, or just anything else at all that you need me to know right away, then get your nearest bleating grown-ups to help you email us at podcast@comedyclubforkids.co.uk. And don't forget, you can give us farting gorillas, hamburger emojis, upside down octopuses, funny apples, whatever you like, by reviewing us on your podcast apps like Apple Podcast or Acast. And if your grown-ups also fancy buying us a biscuit or 7 for making you laugh, then they can do that at ko-fi.com/comedyclubforkids or via the Acast supporter button too. Right, now what's the best way to clean up Red Panda mess? Because it is everywhere in here. Oh wait, hang on. Where's all my bamboo gone? I'll get you, Red Panda thieves! Bye! You have been listening to Comedy Club for Kids Presents. Radio nonsense! Radio nonsense! Radio nonsense! Radio nonsense! Radio nonsense! It's the end.